That's for sure. Hey, I see that our guest from California has joined us in the back room, David. We're doing a split thing tonight, so we're going to go from a CEO and back president to a university president. It's my pleasure to introduce the audience to President Jeff Armstrong, who's president of Cal Poly, and obviously we have him on because we got a baseball series this weekend, Jeff. So good to see you, and thank you for joining us. You guys must be excited beyond belief out there.
Yeah, this is our first super regional. We were in the regional last year in Oregon. We made it to the championship game. We beat Oregon on the way to the championship game, but lost out of the losers bracket. And I have to tell you, I was rooting against West Virginia, not because I didn't want to play you, my dear friend. Frank and I go way back. But we had a really good chance of hosting if Kentucky had been in the mix. So there you have it.
Well, you know, and I told the guys, you're from Kentucky originally, from Western Kentucky, and you still have that Kentucky brogue. But, you know, as I mentioned in getting ready for this, Jeff, a lot of people in this neck of the woods don't know much about Cal Poly. So before we talk about your team, before you talk about your team, say a few words about Cal Poly, the university, where it fits in the California system, and what drew you to apply and become president out there.
Well, and it certainly, I'll remind your viewers that you and I worked together for many, many years, a decade at Michigan State, and I always thought I would be at a West Virginia, Purdue, Michigan State. Cal Poly is a master's-only university. It's part of the California State University. We just integrated the only maritime academy on the West Coast. So we're learned by doing engineering, business, agriculture, some of the largest ag and engineering programs in the country, and we're known for learn by doing. And our graduates are highly sought after. Just to give you an idea of the demand we have, we turned away almost 37,000 qualified applicants for fall of 25. And we're therefore trying to grow. It's pretty amazing. But I love higher education, especially what it does for first-generation students, as I was one. My wife was first-generation. And West Virginia is a great university. I visited there in the past. And you really touch a lot of lives at West Virginia. So a land grant.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you gave the application numbers, because a lot of people don't realize just what a good school. In fact, you think of the California system with Cal Poly, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, and I don't want to leave other schools out, but they're always the top of the public lists. So we appreciate that. Let me start off by asking a question about this team, because we're going to see them this weekend in Morgantown, and as you can expect, the place is going bonkers. This is huge for all West Virginians and all WVU faculty, staff, alums, and so on. I'll kick it to Greg Chris, my co-host, but give us a thumbnail overview of the baseball team, and then after you're done with that, Greg, take over and ask a few questions.
Well, you know, it really starts with the culture and the coach. Larry Lee is a more than 2-decade coach at Cal Poly. He's quite amazing. And he was not plus too much at all after winning the Super Regionals. We still have work to do. And that culture goes through the team. I think we're both pretty much in common with the streak that West Virginia's on. I mean, we swept through with no losses in our UCLA regional. We beat St. Mary's twice, who beat UCLA twice. And I wouldn't want to play us. I think West Virginia is saying the same thing. I don't think other teams want to play us. because you had some really dynamic come from behind games, and we've had those as well. Our team batting average is a little over 300, and our opponents are under 260, and the pitching has gotten much better. So we're in a really good conference, the Big West. We think out west we don't get the respect we deserve, but we're just excited and blessed to be part of this. But it really starts with culture, with our coaches, and really solid student athletes. I heard your previous guest talking about student athletes, and I appreciate that.
Jeff, I was curious. You mentioned culture. Let's talk about culture shock. I don't know how close to the pulse you are with the players, but I would have to think coming from California over to the other coast, to West Virginia in the mountains, might be a bit of a culture shock for them. Does the coaching staff or players worry about what they're coming into? I know the atmosphere, you can see that on TV. Of course, you can't really experience it until you're there, but is there any feelings about that one way or another? I know you guys are a good baseball team and expect to come out here and win, but at the same time, I think as fans, if you see West Virginia going on the road, to say a North Carolina or somewhere like that, you think, man, well, I don't know if we got a chance or not. But is there any talk of that, the culture difference or anything of that nature?
I think Coach Lee, it's a really good question. I think Coach Lee's going to have them focused on one pitch at a time, one strike at a time, and we play in some pretty gnarly environments. One of our big rivals is UC Santa Barbara, and we tied for the Big West Conference this year, and then they were knocked out in the Big West tournament, and so we won the tournament. And then Fullerton, Fullerton's got some real history in baseball. Fresno State's not in our conference, but we took some games from them. Both of those teams are World Series experienced teams some time ago. But, going on the road and going back east, playing a game on their biological clock at 9 o'clock in the morning, all of those things come into play. But I think the experience they had last year at playing at Oregon is beating Oregon at home was a good test for a lot of the players. But we know we got our hands full.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch. We're excited about it here, and I know you guys are too, which makes for a good game coming up, we hope, and it should be a lot of fun. Mickey, before we run out of time here with him, I'm going to let you jump in real quick and fire him a question or two.
Hey, thank you, Greg. President Armstrong, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Any friend of Frank Fears is a friend of ours. That's for certain. Hey, I just have one quick question for you, President. You mentioned that Cal Poly is a master's only university. It's not an undergraduate degree university.
No,
is that correct?
No, I misspoke. Master's is our highest degree. The vast majority of our we have 23,500 students, with all but 1,000 of those are undergraduates. So we've got architecture, engineering, business, agriculture, largest wine and viticulture program in the country, over 6,500 engineers. I think the fourth largest ag college in the country. So it's largely undergraduates. So thanks for asking that, so I could clear that up.
So you mentioned the biological time clock there, and I just wonder how much influence you think that might have. Do you know when the baseball team's coming out, or have they come out to Morgantown already? The game, I think, on Friday is at noon, so it'll really be 9 a.m. your time, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. I don't know the logistics of when they're coming out. I suspect they'll come out. If they're not traveling today, they'll certainly travel tomorrow. And I suspect they'll fly to Pittsburgh and jump on a bus for an hour and a half ride, as I understand it. Yeah, I'm really bummed because I can't figure out how to make it. I was there for most of the regional. I was there for all of it last year, but we are cutting the ribbon on the John Madden Football Center on Saturday. We're Division I, obviously. We're FCS football, and John Madden is one of our alumni. Victor Glover, who just orbited the moon, the pilot of Artemis. He's a Cal Poly grad who played football and wrestled.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad to see John Madden getting that notoriety. He certainly deserves it. He was a man that was certainly influential on me when I was growing up as a kid. No doubt about it.
Thank you, Mickey.
Yep. Jeff, you know what I was thinking? We had a mutual colleague at Michigan State by the name of Dan Clay, who was an avocation, would analyze all kinds of data associated with athletic competition. And I remember over a beer once, he said, you know, everybody talks about travel. And he said, it really works when you go from east to west, or it doesn't work. That when teams go from east to west, it can be a big issue. But he says that my data that I've been poring over doesn't suggest the same level of concern happens when you go west to east. Ever since he said that, I've watched it, and you can see it when a team goes out west. It can really give you problems.
The other thing is we have been very fortunate with our donors. They've invested in baseball. We've been able to invest as a university in baseball. We have one of the nicer parks, Baggett Stadium. Ozzie Smith is a Cal Poly grad. I grew up a Cardinal fan, so I love that. And we were one of very few D1 programs to use the Kinetrax data program. And our closer, Nick Bond, who throws about 100 miles an hour or more, that system helped him just in what you couldn't pick up with the naked eye, just some pivot and turn, and added about 4 or 5 miles per hour. And I'm not giving you any inside information. That's in a story because our undergraduate students were involved in that work, and it's been reported in our magazine and reported online.
Yeah. I think the average fan may be more focused on other sports like football and basketball, don't realize the impact of sports science on baseball. You know, everybody talks about analytics. That's fine. You know, should you shift? Should you be bringing the right-hander at a certain? That's important. There's no question. But the sports science, especially at the university level, is just amazing. And anybody who's been on campus in Morgantown, had a chance to visit the baseball facilities, knows that is taken very seriously. And and the great thing, you know, you and I are both in higher education, to see the direct connection of science to an activity, particularly when it's higher education. Yeah, gee, we wish you'd see that more in other domains. But just to reinforce what you're saying, it's important. And the other thing I would mention too is that I've poured, as the guys knows, I'm a stat geek. I've poured over the stats, and when you line up West Virginia and Cal Poly in baseball, if you put your hand over the column on top, you wouldn't know which team is which. Yeah. Because as you go down the column, ERA, batting average, I think you got 5 guys hitting over 300. It looks very similar to West Virginia. And the other thing that's important, even though the Big West is not a major conference, the way that, you know, the SEC, the Big Ten, et cetera, is, when you look at strength of schedule, there's not that much difference between West Virginia's strength of schedule and Cal Poly's strength of schedule. So when you do that digging in, look at it right here. You look at the RPI is different, and that's understandable given the difference in the leagues. But if you look at the strength of schedule, it's 55 West Virginia, 55 Cal Poly, and 49 West Virginia. And as you said, you look at that batting average, you look at the pitching, and then you look at those guys on the right. I mean, this Ryan Taman is being touted as one of the best catchers in the country. You got a great set of players there, Jeff.
Well, no, thank you, and you do as well. I wasn't able to watch as much of West Virginia versus Kentucky as I wanted to, but yeah, Taman is he's a really amazing catcher, and he was just named the most outstanding male athlete for our entire program the other night. So he's pretty special. These young men are great, and you had a couple of pitchers there as well that are pretty amazing. You've got Griffin Ness, Carson Turnquist. They're both doing pretty well right now, and we need good pitching because West Virginia Mountaineers know how to hit.
Yeah, that's right. And again, you look at those. You've got at least two frontline starters, and at least two frontline relievers. And it comes down to the pitching. We've seen that over and over again. And so Jeff, I'm looking at the watch now. How much more time do you have with us? We've gone a little bit over.
I'm good to go a little longer. It's up to you, Frank.
Good. Well, one of the things I mentioned to you that we might ask, and we ask this almost every week of our guests, and I'll turn it over to Greg here. As you know, Greg, and Mickey, we talk all the time with our guests about where are college sports, where do they think it should go, where is it going, but we never have an executive like Jeff on the line. So, Greg, do you want to frame that a little bit better than I did and let Jeff add it?
Yeah, when we were talking earlier about student athletes and that sort of thing. Of course, we have the Neal issue now, and the transfer portal and all that. I'm just curious because again, we don't know a lot about Cal Poly being so far away, but how big of an impact has like the transfer portal and Neal had on you guys?
It is a totally different era than we had a few years ago. I'm really hopeful that this current legislation will pass and get us back into just some standardized rules and 5 years of eligibility, transfer one time, if not, sit out a year. I like that. We have lost some of our football players for really large amounts to the Michigans of the world, but I'm also equally proud that our basketball team's on the rise, and we only lost one player in the portal. Our women's volleyball upset number 4 and number 5 team in the country this past fall, and they were in the Sweet 16, and they did not lose a single player to the portal. So we're seeing that scholarships and in some sports a little bit of revenue sharing and the degree is having an impact. Wanting that Cal Poly degree. But, we have a player that's offered $1 million or $2 million and they leave. If I get a chance, I'm going to shake their hand because, and say congratulations. But I also want to tell the players, if you're good enough, they'll find you at Cal Poly. They'll find you at West Virginia. And you don't have to be at an Alabama or an Indiana. Frank knows Michigan State. We never thought we would have Indiana as a national champion, but look what happened there. That was quite amazing. Yep. So I got lots of friends that are Hoosiers that are pretty happy, but it's a really interesting time, Greg. And I like where we are in the world of FCS Division I football. We have I'm going to dinner tonight with our 4 NCAA wrestlers who made it to the championship. They won the conference. They made it to the NCAA championships. So we have a tradition of when they're not trying to make weight, I'm going to buy all the sushi they can eat.
Fatten them up a little bit.
Yeah. Those young men can eat sushi. The other thing that we're really excited about is women's flag football. We are very intentionally being one of the first to have women's flag football scholarships. It's going to be in the Olympics in LA in 28. Roger Goodell said there will be a pro league for women's flag football, and we've just signed one of, if not the top player in the country just recently. So we're in it to win it. Awesome.
Very unique story. You mentioned the legislation. One thing worries me about that is, and I think you're right. I think it's a good legislation. We've got to have some legislation to get this under control. But the SEC and the Big Ten have both come out as opposing this legislation, and I said that's a little bit worrisome when those guys, are fighting against you. But something has to be done. And I think one of the reasons I think are okay. They like competing with the pro leagues, and I just heard a story today about a young man that signed with Kentucky, got in a little bit of a NIL bidding war with Louisville and somebody else, and ended up signing with Kentucky for $6.5 million.
Wow,
which is more, they said, than the first round draft pick would get in his rookie contract. And he said, the SEC. They like that and Big Ten because they want to be seen as being competitive with the pro leagues when it comes to the finances and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think from a fan's perspective, and really a lot of other people's perspective, it's just out of control right now. And unfortunately for a lot of schools, you're just you're a training ground. You get a good player in, you coach him up for a year or two, he's off to Michigan, like you said, for $1 million. So you can't fault the kid for that. But
no, that's a really great point. You can't fault these young men and women from moving around. But I can't remember the school, but one young man, turned down the portal and I think went to the pros anyway, the punchline was, I want to be recognized as graduating from my university versus having attended several universities. Again, I'm not faulting that. I mean, we all have players who are playing a year, they have that graduate eligibility, and that's a great thing for that young man and helping that program. But it's good to have some rules and get the trust exception. And if we end up with the players being employees, then we've got another whole can of worms that are a problem for us.
Yeah. Frank and I have talked about this too many times, and Mickey, at some point, the buckets of money that are pouring in, at some point, people were going to be saying, wait a minute, I just keep giving millions of dollars and what am I getting in return other than the satisfaction of winning? You win it, then that satisfaction's there. Yeah. You got it. Is the money will keep coming.
And I don't want to sound like we're bragging, but we had a tough year in football, and we're coming back strong with a new coach, Tim Skipper. Our basketball team's coming back, but in almost all the other sports in our conference, we won a trophy. We won the Commissioner's Cup for the Big West, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our donors that have been supporting. We started beach volleyball several years ago and hired an Olympic gold medalist, Todd Rogers, and we've been in the top 3 or 4 every year and just couldn't get by UCLA this year. So I think that's going to be our first D1 national championship.
Awesome. Pretty cool hearing about all these different types of sports.
Yeah.
Jeff, we appreciate you so much for joining us. It's been very enlightening, and we're looking forward to the game and you guys coming out.
Well, I have to say, as you said, anybody, Mickey, you said anybody that's a friend of Frank's is a friend of ours. Amen. I wouldn't be sitting here as president of Cal Poly if not for my colleague Frank Fear and how we worked together over the years at Michigan State. So I want to say that to you, Frank. Thank you in public in front of all your viewers.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, Jeff. But I've been telling everybody you're going to be impressed with Jeff, and I'll leave it at this. If the worm had turned a little bit differently, you would be on the show, but not from Cal Poly, but from Morgantown. And but that's history, and we're great. It's great to see you, and we're really, really proud of you and everything you've accomplished and are doing, not only at Cal Poly, but for higher education and what you represent in that leadership role. So, Jeff, from all of us, we really appreciate it. Kathy Fear says hello. She's watching tonight. And say hello to Sharon for us. And thanks so much for taking the time.
We'll see you next time I'm out there to see my grandkids.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just for a second, Darren, if you could throw up that baseball chart again. Thanks for putting it up before, but this is the thing I think that, and actually I've seen a few comments on Facebook with fans getting ahead of themselves. Well, we got this super regional wrapped up, and who are we going to play next? Are we going to play Troy, or are we going to play? Are we going to play? Who are they playing? Oh, Little Rock. And I responded to one and said, as Mickey knows, and Greg, with your coaching experience, the kiss of death is getting ahead of yourselves.
That's right.
Nobody's,
Yep.
people don't, and there actually are two Cal Polys. This is Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. There's another Cal Poly, and so you can get confused. Well, they're nothing. Well, they are something. If you look at the only weakness I can think of is not in the players, but is in the level of competition. They won 40 games, but they haven't been very good away or against power schools. In the power schools they played, USC, Washington State, Oregon State, they did play UCLA. And a lot of people have criticized, well, you play who you play. St. Mary's took care of UCLA. They didn't play UCLA in the regional, but they played, Pac-12 schools. Pac-12 schools. I don't think there was any other. Oh, Virginia Tech. They beat Virginia Tech in the regionals. So, but they're 3-9 against power schools. We're a power school. They're away. But the thing I would say it's going to come down to, and I'll ask you guys what you think, but maybe it's because I'm sort of I think in a monotone. I think it's going to come down to pitching again. You look at that ERA, it's 4.76. They've got good pitchers, but not a lot of depth. The relievers are good. This Bond that Jeff was talking about, he throws a fireball, and Estes is very good too. They got a strong infield. You can see Taman he leads a team in batting average, home runs, and RBIs. He's an out you got to get, but I think it's going to come down to pitching. Greg, and then Mickey, what do you think?
Yeah, and Frank's like I told you last week, baseball's different. Football, basketball, and Mickey, you know this. If you got better players, you're usually going to win. Baseball is not necessarily like that. You may have the best pitcher, but not the best players and the best team. But you may win because your pitching's so good. So you never know in baseball, and I don't think hopefully, I'm sure the Mountaineers are not taking this team lightly. They are in a super regional. No matter what the name is on their jersey, they're in a super regional too. So they can obviously play baseball. So that they've got to focus in, and I know it's cliche, one game at a time. They got to take care of business, and they probably are favored, but that don't matter. And again, it don't matter in baseball. You mentioned me coaching and how you deal with that. One year, it was my last year coaching. In fact, played a team in a tournament over in Beckley. It was a Jim Justice tournament, as a matter of fact, and I don't think we've been paid for that yet. I'm sorry, Darren. I'm sorry. Anyway, we played that tournament game over there, and we beat a team in a championship game by 36 points. That was on a Wednesday night. On Saturday night, we played them again at my gym at home, and they beat us by 2. So, and I know what happened. The kids didn't think that team had a chance against them. So it happens, and you can't take teams lightly. I don't care, what level they play in, what conference they play in, especially baseball. That's a different game, and you've got to be ready to go. So I'm sure the Mountaineers will be too.
Yeah, Mickey.
Well, defense wins championships, and to me, defense in baseball is 80% pitching, 20% fielding. And we have excellent fielding. We've got excellent pitching. Top 3 pitchers in the Big 12. So, for me, Frank, it comes down to pitching as well. Uh, Although it doesn't hurt to have Guzman up there in a clutch situation when you need a
Yeah,
clutch hit. He's
Yeah.
come through just about every time. And, the other thing, I know everybody thinks this about their own team, but this team really, Frank, as you pointed out, as we were texting each other the other night, this team has a heart that, just haven't seen previously in the baseball area. No discouraging words against previous teams. They all were excellent. This team seems to have a little something extra. Just to be down 3 runs to Kentucky and then score 5 in order to pull out that 11-9 victory. Just absolutely astounding. And you just had that feeling when you watch them, no matter how far they're down. In the first game against Kentucky, they were down 6-0. Came all the way back. So this team seems to have a little something a little extra. I think will carry them through to Omaha.
yeah. Both very good thoughts, and I go to the bank with what you said, Greg, and what you said, Mickey, and just to pick up on that heart concept, it's there. And I posted on Facebook the other day. I thought I would never see again what happened last year in Clemson when the Mountaineers were done. Really, bottom of the eighth. Yeah, bottom of the eighth, and they were down 12. I think 12-7 was it? 12-6, 12-7, and scored 6-1,
Yep.
6 more runs. Shut out the Wildcats in the top of the ninth and won 13-12. Guzman was in the middle of that, and here, lo and behold, it's 5-1, then it's 5-5. And you say the momentum has shifted, we're in trouble, and here comes Guzman. And that swing was just a thing of beauty. That center fielder didn't have a chance, and we win the game, and all hell breaks loose. And no sweeter words sung with "Take Me Home." I mean, it was the most electric version of that song
Country Roads.
I've ever. Yeah, Country Roads. Never. Just incredible.
Yep.
And so let's just go out and get them on the weekend.
Yep, sounds good. That was like you said, improbable comebacks, several of them, and then the atmosphere again with the fans and the interactions with the players and singing after the game, all great stuff. And like I said, I really think it's going to pay some dividends down the road as well for people to see this on a national scale. And
That's right.
It's been, like you said, all over ESPN, all over the internet, and it's nothing but good stuff for us. So yeah, we just need to continue this, take care of business this weekend, and like Mickey said, get on down to Omaha and let's do some work. So anyway, guys, great show again, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm kind of getting to where I just like to sit back and listen to the show, as opposed to rambling and bumbling and fumbling.
No, it's all good.
And we appreciate all you for tuning in tonight for another visit inside the Mountaineer locker room then and now. We appreciate your viewing. Mickey, thank you. Frank, thank you. Darren, thank you for your background work. Thanks to our great guests tonight, David Mayfield and Jeff Armstrong, both fantastic guests. Enjoyed talking to those guys a whole bunch, and we look forward to coming to you again next week with Brett Solheim. Thank you for watching Mountaineer Locker Room then and now on New River Network and Voice College Football. For these guys, good night.